Did you say Dolby?
Doubly is what.
Dobley.
Okay. As long as you said it.
Do you want me to redo it?
I just asked it. I feel like I heard Dolby, but I trust you. Your English accent?
Dobley. Welcome to our Film Fathers podcast, the definitive podcast about fatherhood, film, and fatherhood in film. This is Jelani, and with me as always are two guys with armadillos down their trousers, Martin and Brady.
I do not, for one, think that the problem was that the band was down. I think that the problem may have been that there was a Stonehenge monument on the stage that was in danger of being crushed by a dwarf. All right? That tended to understate the hugeness of the object.
It's like, how much more black could this be? And the answer is none. None more black.
This week, we can boil down our review of the movie to two words: shit sandwich. We watched the now 40-year-old spoof that started it all for many people. From Rob Reiner to Christopher Guest to Michael McKean, Harry Shearer, and Fred Willard. The spoofs and satires that would follow for decades are all originated from the comedic brilliance inside the real original. Remember, it's a fine line between stupid and clever. This is Spinal Tap.
First time for you guys?
First time for me.
First time as well.
This is really only my second full viewing, but I watched it when I was like, I don't know, 13 or 14. I think I rented it from the library, and had just heard about it. I did not really enjoy it back then. But
I wish I would have watched it back then.
But yeah,
because I felt like your 13-year-old self and did not enjoy it this time.
Oh, you didn't like it? You didn't find anything redeeming about it?
There were clips and minutes and segments, but overall, could have kept it.
Brady, I'm not sure. I kind of figured you guys would both hate it, but
I was laughing out loud on numerous parts, but I think as a whole, there were more lulls for me than there probably are supposed to be. I think I was finding myself somewhat unimpressed at stretches, and there were actual times I was like laughing legitimately. I thought there was some really funny hilarity, but yeah, that's why I kind of wish I would have saw it earlier. We talked about watching an old like spoof satire back many episodes ago when we did Robin Hood Men in Tights, and thinking about seeing. I find that movie a lot funnier because I have those from when I was young and remember laughing at them, and I feel like there's a chance that would have been the case with Spinal Tap, but obviously I can't be sure. And you saying that you maybe didn't really enjoy it, maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe it would have just missed the mark. And you being as much into music, I'm surprised you didn't find it.
That's why I watched it, right? Because it felt like a must, and it is a must view for anyone that's kind of into music. I feel like I remember when I was working at XRT, that was one of the things that with some of the salespeople were younger. The younger ones that came up that hadn't seen it, everyone was like, "No, my God, you have to watch this," because there's so many things that you say, like you'd say shit sandwich, and you have to know what you're talking about. You have to say goes to 11, which I feel like goes to 11 is the one thing that everyone knows, even if they don't know it's from this. It's just become so much in the ether, I guess, that everyone knows that line. But I feel like there's other ones too, and I do remember that part being funny, and then the review, the shit sandwich review was funny, and just the concept of smell the glove, and the guy saying, "It's like, what's wrong with trying to be sexy?" And it's like, "Sexist, you idiot!" Like I remember those three parts very much. I remember laughing and loving, but I didn't love the songs very much. I just think I was.
Well, you mean when you were younger?
Yeah, when I was younger, and now I appreciated them a little bit more. Not that
I thought some of the songs were pretty funny, and I felt like clear references to other songs that are in the rock archives. So.
Right? Yeah, exactly. As I was watching it this time, I definitely found myself laughing a lot more. Like when he does the solo and he pulls out the violin and plays the violin right. and plays the other guitar with his foot and plays the violin. Like that's so. I mean, it's a definite, I think, reference to Jimmy Page, who would take out a violin bow, yeah, and just take it to the extreme of that. So, have you guys seen any of the other spoofs that like Christopher Guest directed after this?
Like A Mighty Wind,
Exactly.
and
Waiting for
I did not
Guffman.
see Mighty Wind.
Best in Show and
I
stuff.
saw
Best
Best
in
in Show.
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen Waiting for Guffman, but I don't remember for sure if that's.
Yeah, there's people that absolutely love all all those movies.
It's almost
There's
its
a-
own genre.
Exactly, yeah. But there's a pretty big. I thought there was one in between, but you're going from '84, which this feels 40 years old, doesn't it? Like it definitely looks.
Yeah. No, I mean it's.
Yeah.
But in a
It-
weird way, because it starts as like this rockumentary. In a weird way, it almost works. I felt like,
Yeah,
I'm the one that's going to complain about something like that, but I feel like it that wasn't a huge deterrent for me, and it felt like a fun. I kind of liked that part, or liked the look of it for what it was.
I think you're right. Like I think the concept of it going in as the documentary crew following them around was fine, but this, I don't know, I guess maybe I built it up in my mind from people talking about it being like really, really funny. And I guess my spoofs and my satires and things like that all stem from Mel Brooks, which is a lot more slapstick, a lot more like jokes per minute kind of deal. So maybe I was anticipating something like that, but just with like a musical spin. But the thing that I guess I enjoyed about it was just watching them play the songs, like because that's actually them playing that, right?
yeah. They wrote all the music and
Yeah.
they actually performed it as well. So I think that is pretty impressive because they do.
Yeah, they're very musically talented.
And they were they actually were again much more funny than I remember them being. I think I just was not paying attention to the music as a kid, but the lyrics are very, very funny in some of them.
Oh, I mean, I felt like the lyrics were hilarious, frankly, and yet there was almost no indication of it, like from them. They're just this band that's out there and singing completely absurd shit, and but barely even smiling, or it's easy to kind of let that slip through, and maybe it's part of the allure of this movie.
Yeah, but also not. I think someone was saying earlier, like not really that far from some rock songs, right? Like,
Oh yeah, I mean literally, yeah. I mean, Big Bottom. Hard not to think that there's that's not connected to Fat Bottom Girl.
right.
She got the mud flaps.
But it's just there's just certain like overt lines that you know exactly what they're going for. Whereas I feel like in real, quote unquote, real rock songs or heavy metal songs, there's like maybe a little bit more hidden or something. But all the subject matter is always the same. And I just love when he's playing the really soft, gentle piece on the piano, and he's asking him a question. Martin DeBerge's asking, "Oh, it's really nice. So what do you call that? Oh, this is called Lick My Love Pump." I remember loving that as a kid. Yeah, and I still think that's so funny that you would take something like that and give it that title.
But I was thinking about it, and obviously pushing it with me and Jelani. I just don't think there's a lot of hope for people much younger than us to enjoy this movie.
Yeah.
I think, and part of it may be connected to the music, that it is kind of parodying. Some people obviously will still listen to classic rock here and there. I don't think people are going out of their way to do it. On a younger side, I feel like we grew up with like classic rock stations, so even if that wasn't your genre that you really liked, you still knew a lot of the songs because you were stuck in a car at some point in our life where we were forced to essentially listen to whatever was on. I know that can be said for me. I liked some of the stuff that I listened to, but I didn't like all of it, or didn't love all of it, but I know almost all of it because I was kind of immersed in it for my life, and you can't say that about kids these days.
Yeah. What's crazy is it's this whole, like when we talked about Back to the Future before, 17 years ain't what it used to be, right? You're going from 1984 here to 1967, and they had black and white. They were the Thamesmen. They basically like the Beatles, pre-color. So it's such a world of difference from 67 to 84. But if you're talking about now, 2024, if you go back 17 years, what is that? 2007? Like that feels like yesterday. And you couldn't say that a band is. I mean, there's bands that have been around that from 2007 that I would still love to see that are super relevant. Like I think the Killers were around then, maybe. Yeah, for sure. And the Killers I just saw recently playing United Center, and it's like that's a modern band. That's they're one of the new.
They're
bands.
playing Lollapalooza.
Are they? Yeah, that lineup was just.
I think
announced.
They were announced as part of the Lollapalooza lineup.
So I mean, it's just very strange how much has changed in like how we're in this modern era for so long now. Like even the 90s doesn't feel. A lot of times, you can go back to 97. You can go back another 10 years and still feel like you're in modern times.
So 1987.
Yeah.
87, maybe you'd start to feel it there a little bit. I feel like
94. I mean, you can listen to music from 1994 and still. I mean, that has a little bit more dated feel to it. But like the difference between a song that came out in 1994 and a song that came out in 2004. Yeah. Like, you can see there's a change, but, like, if you played something from 2004 today...
Nothing.
I don't think you'd be that different.
Yeah, I do that.
Like, you'd see it too much of a difference.
I play that game with my kids in the car. I'll be like, okay, kids, it's time to play. Is it more than 10 years old? Or is it, modern? And they're wrong half the time, They're like, I think this... But they don't know for sure either,
Well, so I literally just put in 1994 rock hits and 2004 rock hits. And the first thing listed in 94 rock hits is Interstate Love Song by STP. Mm-hmm. And in 2004, it's Somebody Told Me by the Killers.
There you go. And, I mean, I love both of those songs, yeah. So
yeah, I mean, I'm probably more... We are in that world. But I know there's like a guy at work much younger than me on our team, and he just despises like grunge and... the music from that era. I mean, he's clearly wrong, but
he's clearly wrong. Thank you.
It's representative of, of this youth who thinks that they know what music is, and haven't spent a lifetime listening to 60 songs that explain the 90s.
Did you see that it just ended?
It would have to have. I'll be honest. Even I couldn't make it anymore. I tailed off.
So I listened to the last episode. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it was, but it was closing time pretty fittingly.
Semisonic.
Yeah, you got it. Which is definitely a good call.
Yeah, I don't. It had to end. I mean, we loved it, but I feel like it served its purpose for me, and they kept going, and I'm like, I just ran out of. I'll probably work my way through it at some point, but they started getting to some songs that I was just kind of not as into, and I'm like, low motivation to kind of learn more. But yeah, the look of the guys in Spinal Tap, and it was just right on brand for like what I think we all remember. They fit right in, and
Harry Shearer looks so funny in this. Every time I looked at him, I laughed.
Pun intended. The hairy man. Well, there was a note I saw that said like several rock stars commented on like how uncannily accurate it was, and like Ozzy Osbourne said when he first watched the movie, he was the only person not laughing because he thought it was a real documentary. The Edge from U2 said, "I didn't laugh, I cried. It was so close to the truth." And there were multiple other like rockers that kind of had comments of just kind of relating, I think, to different things, which is obviously intentional, right? Like they were essentially pulling from all these different people. You touched on Led Zeppelin, and
definitely
Kiss,
the Beatles,
for sure.
Definitely, Janine has a Yoko vibe, going for sure.
They definitely had one of the Janine Yoko vibe is funny, just because she just was so sucky. But
She's
you,
the
you
worst.
saw the whole thing coming. You saw the whole thing coming, right? Like,
And see, like the part that I didn't really get or love as a kid was when she took over and she's like, "Oh, I have all these charts," and you think, "Oh, maybe she has a schedule," but it's just star charts, and like she talks about their star signs. I about lost it this time because that's still like a thing. Like there's still people that like live their entire life based on what the star charts tell you, and it's ridiculous that
those
40
people
years
are
ago.
not in my life that I'm aware of. No,
Martin, we're coming up on the age of Aquarius. Aren't you ready?
Whatever that means.
I really appreciated the origin of, or the early stages of the band that was Spinal Tap, like when they were essentially like the Creatures and like all these different types of genre. They were much more like mellow. Same people, you could still. It really made me laugh when they were like showing these like not flashbacks, but like they were showing them performing on a very different type of style and music, and it was just hilarious to me to think of them being these different bands and then still ending up as Spinal Tap, which obviously everyone would have known. But yeah, I enjoyed the hell out of that.
Yeah, they're having like the hippie phase, the Flower Child stuff, and then I love when they're like, should we do whatever the jazz experimental,
The
jazz Odyssey
experimental.
That got me too. So like stuff like that as I'm older and have just experienced many different bands and being in a band and working in somewhat in music, you start to, I don't know. I just appreciated it more, I think, as I was older.
Yeah, I'm not surprised, and I figured you were probably enjoyed this movie more than I did. Although it feels like we all were on a chart there with Jelani holding us closer to the ground, and me
Like a
me
lead
kind of
balloon.
enjoying the ride at times, and then pulling my phone out, and yeah, it was in Barton, yucking it up the whole time.
Hello, Cleveland. I mean, we would say that every time, before every.
I feel like I've
every type
heard
of
that,
show.
but I guess I didn't necessarily realize it was from this.
And
I
getting
feel like
lost
there-
backtage too was funny.
Yeah, but I think I saw something where a Kiss said that happened to them
Yes.
one time.
Some of this stuff I think was pulled from reality. I think that for sure. And then where he got like caught in the cocoon.
Oh my god, that made me laugh
Or the
really
pod.
hard. I was very. I mean, it's so simple. I really found it funny. And then he tries to dart back in, and it closes, and he
On
still
his arm.
throws the arm up. And I don't know. It got me.
I
The
think that was
simple-
based on something real too. Like someone got some bit of machinery didn't work. Maybe not quite to that hilarity level, but
the blowtorch and the hammer. I don't know. I was dying. That part really. It's so simple, but it really got me laughing.
Do you think that there aren't bands or as many bands touring like this, or having these big stage shows now because people can make a music video on their own, or they can do stuff and put it up on the internet, so that they don't have these type of things where you're going to all these different places? Like, I mean, yes, people still tour
Yeah.
and they still have big bands, but we're out of that like phase of huge acts where
it's more concentrated,
they're taking,
right? I mean, it's
Yeah,
all.
you're coming off a year of Taylor Swift being
Right.
literally the biggest thing that existed.
That's what I was going to say. It's
Right.
it's like the Marvel phenomenon in movies, right? There's only these really huge things, and then there's probably a lot of really small things that don't get quite the attention. But you probably have, Taylor Swift, Ed Sheeran, and like U2 doing the Sphere in Las Vegas as like the big tours and the big headliners, the big production where they're doing like in the round. Not the stage at one end, but you're in the center of the arena or the stadium or whatever. But yeah, I think you're right. There's definitely a lot less guitar-driven rock. Like, I mean, it is a lot of hip hop and a lot of EDM. So a lot of just DJs,
Yeah.
literally pressing a button and they're just bopping their heads.
Well, it's good music, so who cares, Martin?
I'm not saying I don't like it.
Yeah.
I
Well,
enjoy
and I
it.
know, and probably more so because it's in my like ether and in amongst some of the people that work with me. But I also know like Zach Bryan is a huge draw right
Yeah.
now from on like the country southern rock type of
He's
vibe. And
he's really good too.
he's
Yeah.
awesome. I would literally go see him. I know he just played the UC here like last week or the week before.
See, but he's more in the. To me, he's more like in the Sturgill Simpson.
100%.
Yeah.
That's why I said more
Isbell.
southern rock country than it is, and definitely not a huge
Basically, his
production
politics
value.
are right.
he just plays the hell out of some guitar and music, and he has a ton of songs. Like, it's funny, he just puts out albums, it feels like, every couple months. Just doesn't follow the put an album out and ride away for 14 months. It's like, I got an album, I'm putting it out. It's like, and he kind of just overdosed the
market.
yeah, the market, and people loved it because a lot of them are good. So, but I mean, thinking about bands that are good. Martin, did friend of the pod, Andreas, did he go to the Sphere to see you two? Did you tell me that, or did I see that on the gram?
He probably did. He was.
I feel like he might have. Well, so you don't know the answer to my follow-up question. So
I do know. He did go. That's right. He did go. But I didn't talk to him about if it was awesome or not. So I might not know the answer.
no, well, that was definitely the question. So, yeah, I was curious. Obviously, I know he's a concert fiend, and so for him, I loved that he got to go to that. So, and then I heard something like the Eagles might be next, and I was like, what a fucking letdown.
I'd go see that.
What?
I love the Eagles, man.
Ah, man, I'm with Lebowski. Yeah,
Really?
Who's the lead
Do you
singer of the
hate the
Eagles?
Eagles?
Martin.
Don Henley?
Well, Don Henley is
Is it
one
still
of them.
Henley?
Fry.
One of them might have died, but yeah, I think there's 3 or 4 singers.
Well, it was Don Henley and Glenn Fry, I think, were the two main.
Yeah, were the main.
Singers. But I don't think at the same time. I think weren't they like off, one on type of vibe?
And they're a harmony band, like Hotel California. I think there's literally all 4 of them singing and a couple different guitars. So yeah, I mean, that would be not necessarily at the Sphere,
Glenn
but
Fry is dead.
okay. Yeah, I thought that might have.
I guess
may
we
have
could cross
happened.
him off the list.
But you really hate the Eagles, Brady?
I'm not a huge Eagles fan. And
I don't know why
line
that
in the
surprises
Lebowski
me.
just makes me laugh because it's really funny, and I'm just like, I've kind of always been impartial, so I was like, yeah, let's lead into that.
You're like in Sideways when someone says
Merlot?
don't drink Merlot. You're like, I'm not drinking Merlot. Wait, yeah, the Eagles, they suck. No, I would expect you would like them.
Yeah, I don't know. There's not a lot of. I definitely know some of their stuff, but
Yeah.
I don't hate them, obviously. But I don't. I really don't think I would go out of my way. And to me, I'm also not a huge U2 fan, but I recognize their vast array of hits.
Yeah.
And so it feels to me like to open the Sphere with U2 and have this, to then go to the Eagles, to me feels like you are going the wrong direction.
Yeah, it's the right. It could be the right demographic for Vegas, though.
Who can afford to go to the
Exactly. People that can afford those tickets are gonna want to see the Eagles. But I just hope they don't. Yeah, they don't let down in the production value, because U2's always been kind of at the edge, so to speak, of those kinds of things.
Yeah, you need like Muse. Supposed to put on an amazing show.
Yeah, I've seen Muse.
That was actually a miss. I did not make it to see them, but yeah. Anyway, sorry to diverge.
No, that's. I mean, it's rock and roll, and it was Jelani's question, right? Like, who else is big in touring space? And yeah, I think you're right. There's not.
Well, I don't know if he was. I know Harry Styles obviously was on a run. I know he at least did the Garden for a really long time. He was like broke a record or something. Again, no pun intended, but in terms of like how long he was there, but yeah, I think you're right though on like from like a stage production level. I think it's always rock, and rock is, for better or worse, closer to dying than it is to thriving.
Yeah. I mean, I saw Metallica at Lollapalooza, whenever that was, last year, 2 years ago.
But were they on a tour, or were they doing the?
I think they just did Lolla. They may have
did
done
the big festivals.
Yeah, they may have done like Coachella, or they may have done other stuff too. But I'd never seen Metallica. I've always loved Metallica, and they were great. And it was one of those things where, I mean, they are so technically good, except for Lars, that it is just fun to see people shred, because you don't see a lot of like I was talking about the pressing the button. Like, yeah, I love that music, but there isn't always a lot of like showmanship or talent with that. But when you see somebody really, Kirk Hammett and James Hetfield, play guitar really well. And speaking of that, there was some, I don't know, documentary or something where they were talking about Spinal Tap, and Metallica was like, yeah, or they were joking about Metallica. They're like, yeah, where do you think Metallica got the idea for their Black Album? Yeah, they totally ripped us off, which I thought that was pretty funny too. The whole smell of the glove, and just having it be a Black Album with nothing on it.
Right, which is obviously relevant to the White Album analogy that Liam was given. It was funny. I felt like I could tell you one thing we probably should mention at least, so I don't forget, is the quite a few people in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like
a lot of cameos.
Obviously knew.
I don't know who was. I don't know if anybody was known at all at the time, or if they were all just like, this is like not their first movie, or just people that were coming up. Yeah,
I mean, right, kind of early. You obviously got I guess we should say, like, the band itself. You had, we kind of mentioned on the intro, Michael McKean, who I definitely know afterwards. So it's like that's all my thing. For me, it's all after the fact. So I don't know. To your point, if they are. I mean,
what do you think of when you see him?
Well,
movie
now
or show?
Or then?
I don't know. Now, I think you're going to say Better Call Saul. Yeah, Saul, right?
Well, that's the most recent. I mean, you could say that, which was great, and to think of him in that relative to this movie.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a big,
right? Like
stark. Difference from.
And what's his name? I mean, Odenkirk too, right? Like he's a comedy actor, but he ends up being really a very, very good, one of our better, I think, overall actors. And Michael McKean too, right? Like comes from comedy, but really, did really well in that role. I always think of Airheads too, which I love that movie. Speaking
Airheads,
of
for sure.
rock and roll movies.
That's a movie I watched way.
That was one I was. If we had more time, I think we
should have paired it.
With
this. Yeah, that would have been a good one.
Yeah, that's definitely a movie I saw a ton of, and it felt like it wasn't a huge crowd of people watching that along with me.
Yeah, feels like a bargain bin, right?
Oh yeah, all timers in there.
Absolutely, yeah.
But
who else?
Well, so and you mentioned Christopher Guest, who obviously has gone on to become revered in the directing and writing of some of these satire spoof comedies, with his crew of people that they clearly I would assume are friends, and but I don't know again if it stemmed from this or if they're like this was the first brick in the wall, or if it was they were all doing this type of stuff.
No, I think yeah, he probably tried to just continue the catch lightning in a bottle a few more times, and it seemed. I think the audiences think that they have, like, they succeeded. Like, those are popular movies, Waiting for Guffman and Best in Show and A Mighty Wind. He also was in a movie we talked about before, Princess Bride. He's the six-fingered man, right?
Well, that was Rob Reiner.
Rob Reiner directed, yeah. So he kind of dipped into that. But I think I don't think he was ever better than in this. I think he's really perfect.
He is really
as the dim-witted guitar player. Something about his performance throughout it was just perfect. He's doesn't give a shit, but it's just very funny.
But does care.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought he's my favorite, other than the look, because Harry Shearer, he didn't say as much, but every time I saw that ridiculous hair, mustache, and shirt off, and like the skinny little man, he cracked me up.
Yeah, he almost has like a dominatrix like outfit on. It's not even like it's not just like rock leather. It's like literally got like hooks and stuff. I'm like,
and this is pre Simpsons Harry Shearer. So all I hear is like all his voices, when he talks.
Who all does he do? I know he does like Ned.
Does he?
Is he Carl or Lenny?
Probably
Lenny?
both. Maybe not.
Oh yeah.
Let's look.
I don't think
he's.
Him up.
Yeah, I figured out here. I thought I was gonna hit two Simpsons experts with some easy common knowledge.
I mean, it should be common knowledge, but
And I get it. There's obviously a lot of Principal Skinner, Kent Brockman.
he does he does Smithers, Burns, Lovejoy, Flanders, Brockman, Hibbert,
Yeah.
Skinner, Otto, and Lenny.
Rainier Wolfcastle, Dr. Marvin Monroe.
I mean, that's pretty wild that he can do all those voices, right? That's Simpsons. That's a good gig. You get that Simpsons money
shit.
and just keep.
For
Why
sure.
you're not seeing him in a lot of other stuff. So he doesn't need to do anything else.
And you think about the two people that did Bart and Lisa, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Yeardley Smith and Nancy Cartwright. Like, have you seen Nancy Cartwright outside of anything else?
No, but she does other voices. I think Yeardley Smith's the only one that only does like one. She just
Yeah.
does Lisa.
Oh yeah, because Nancy Cartwright is Nelson as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like Ralph Wiggum or something, I think.
Did you catch Ed Begley Jr.'s millisecond on screen?
Yeah.
Yes,
the first
very,
drummer, right?
very quick.
I was like, oh, yeah, Stumpy. Yeah, the first drummer. By the way, the drummers all dying curiously was just a really random, amusing. Several people, dozens, spontaneously combust every year.
You just
Not
don't
widely
hear about
talked
it.
Oh, my God. And then Fran Drescher, an early sighting.
Yeah, we love Fran these days.
She's a local hero, hero these days on the acting. And
Yeah, she saved
after the strike.
everybody.
Did you catch? I caught Billy Crystal as a mime. I can say I did not catch Dana Carvey as a mime.
Did not either. Not until I saw the
Crystal's
credits.
voice caught me, and I was like, "Is it?"
Right.
But I think I was so hung up at that point trying to determine if it was Crystal, I didn't really pay attention to the other guy who happened to be Dana Carvey. Still don't think I probably would have got it, but that was, two obvious up and comers, and it was.
I think Crystal was pretty much.
He might have been known by then,
By
yeah.
that point.
Yeah, in '84.
But I'm not sure.
You think so?
Well, he was on Saturday Night Live in the '70s.
Okay.
So
He was a
Well,
cast
it's
member?
Really,
I didn't think I didn't think I knew that Billy Crystal was ever a cast member.
it's a really small role for someone who is known. I will say, like it's you can, to be, I mean, he does have a line, I guess, so there's something, but if not for his voice that was, I guess, very recognizable, I don't know that I would have. I'm trying to look and see what he was doing. No,
the one
no.
the one that I
By
didn't
the way, I don't see
see.
SNL.
Oh, maybe he's just one of those that always appeared on
84,
it. But
the Spinal Tap. He was in 75 episodes of Soap from 77
Yeah.
to 81.
He was on the Love Boat for an
oh,
episode.
he was frequent host of Saturday
so
Night
he
Live
hosted.
from 84
Oh, you know
to
what it
85.
is? He was in All in the Family for an episode with Rob Reiner. With Meathead or whatever his
That
name
was
was.
it.
That got him the one.
Yeah, that's
And
how
then
probably
87,
how
the
they met.
Princess Bride.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, and Throw Mama from the Train. My bad. 2. Harry Met Sally. Yeah, then he was off and running. And I said, I never really found him that funny. So.
Yeah, you don't really love him. City Slickers is great.
Yeah, and his co-star from City Slickers was the limo driver,
Bruno Kirby, yeah.
I thought it was Jack Parlance.
And he was also in
Jack Palance.
in the parlance of our times. Young trophy wife.
The reason you would not have figured out that the other mime was Dana Carvey was because he did not speak,
Correct. No, I understand.
as a mime
I
shouldn't.
understand.
And he's probably super, super young.
I had no idea that was Paul Schaefer.
Yeah.
No, neither did I.
If I was supposed to have a read on that, I missed it. As Artie Fufkin.
Because he had hair, and he's
The
famously
100%.
with the shades and bald head. So
Yeah, he wasn't into his look yet with from the Letterman show or the late night show but I did not catch Angelica Houston.
No, where was
She
she?
was Polly Dutch. I have no clue.
Yeah, I
She
didn't
was
see
in
it
there,
either.
and I feel like I would recognize her if I caught it. But Fred Willard, obviously we know who he is, especially down the road with the crew.
With this crew of people, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but there were numerous there. I was like kind of enjoying the people just kind of showing up all the time. So, but yeah. Anyway, I'm happy. I was happy we got around to it. One of these that what is it? Do some quick math for me, Martin. 40 years too late in watching. But
30 years, because you would have had to be at least 10
Yeah.
to get some of the jokes.
well, after Benji, I was usually looking for a little something funny to watch.
Something with a guy named Sir Eaton Hogg.
Oh shit! See, it's funny. There's funny stuff in there.
There's funny stuff. It's
There's.
a required viewing, I think, just to have it
Yeah.
under your belt.
I just don't know how many years after us of an age of people would be like, no, this is stupid. I
Yeah.
don't think it's far.
Yeah.
I think it could be condensed down to a few TikToks of funny scenes, and that's the best you're going to get of getting anyone's attention.
That's possible. We got to get our TikTok in now before it gets, canceled.
Yeah,
by
before it gets gone. Yeah.
these.
Don't worry,
bureaucrats.
it'll be a reel in 2 years.
Yeah.
What was the?
Just find it on Threads.
Vine? Was it?
Vine.
Was Vine the one that was around
Yeah.
before its time?
I never really looked at Vines, but people seem to love them.
A couple times I did. There were definitely people making Vines, and that was like a thing. But yeah, occasionally you'd find one. I feel like it was it wasn't, but I feel like it was kind of you had to Vine before you could have a TikTok. You had to understand the
for
Vine
sure.
ether.
Yeah, I can't believe it failed, or went away. Like, it seems silly
Not really sure what happened.
why they
there.
shut it down. Yeah.
It's always people just trying to shut it down. Just shut down fun.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you what, the Chinese are not trying to get my information.
They already got it if they want it.
Right?
It's
They got it
readily
in some way, shape, or form.
As always, remember, don't record heavy metal in Dolby. But do subscribe to our Film Fathers podcast wherever you listen. Thanks, and go to bed.